So I can tell you right now, one of the best cash flowing opportunities out there for some years now, and honestly, especially since COVID, that has the lowest barrier of entry when it comes to cost and initial setup, and the fastest ramp up period for a cash flowing opportunity has been the vending machine business. Believe it or not, this little business model has been extremely effective at helping, small everyday individuals get started with just a couple machines at a time, get their business model off the ground, whether they use a franchise or go the independent route, and ramp up hundreds to thousands of dollars a month in part-time cash flow relatively quickly. One of the biggest challenges, like any business opportunity, is where do you get the capital to procure these machines? I'm going to show you exactly how you can link up with a company like American Express that's going to give you just the right products and just the right capital that you need to get in on this opportunity and to scale it up as fast as possible. If you're already in American Express's ecosystem, this is going to be a more effective strategy, but it works perfectly fine if you're starting from scratch. The vending machine business has always been a really good business model. Again, it's usually a low cost to get in. It's usually not that expensive to stay in it. And it's something that you have a lot of control over that has a relatively fast ramp up period. Once you get your machines placed, you get your product going, you fill out the audience that, or the group, the customer base you're trying to serve, and you could be off the ground in a relatively short span of time. You go the franchise route, they're going to turnkey it for you. A lot of times they're going to get you a few machines to get started. They're going to help you pick out a quality leasing area with the lowest competition and the highest foot traffic. And they're also going to help you get it placed, and then, give you the recommendation and the guidance when it comes to buying products, so on and so forth, servicing these machines, etc. The flip side of this situation is that the ramp up period with them, not the ramp up, but the barrier to entry with them can be a little tougher, because usually you're going to be looking at $50,000 minimum to procure a few machines, somewhere around 3 or 4 new machines right out of the gate. They're not going to allow you to get started with just one machine for $10,000 or $15,000. In many cases, they're going to want you to get started on a pretty significant level. On the flip side, you go independent, you can get in at a lower barrier to entry and get machines for $3,000 to $5,000 or $10,000 and stock it with what you want, but you have to do all of the leasing. You're going to have to learn how to teach yourself how to do the maintenance, things of that nature, and not have the level of support when it comes to the ramp up style. So you go in at a lower barrier to entry, your ramp up period could be longer, and vice versa. When you are working with American Express, the reason I recommend them in this strategy for your capital is because American Express is going to give you the starting capital you need through credit cards. You can usually, it's going to depend on the vendor, but you can usually procure these machines via credit card. It's a beautiful thing about this business model, because it gives you an ability to get that capital you need without necessarily having to jump into some really deep, business funding product, or having to come out of your pocket if you don't have the cash or just don't want to use the cash. You're going to want to use a 0% interest credit card to do this, because obviously you need that ramp up period to get started and to get cash flowing. And you don't want to drown yourself in credit card debt just procuring a machine before you can get off the ground. So using American Express with the 0% interest offers on those cards is going to allow you to grab your first machines. To get in with American Express, if you're not already with them, is not the hardest thing in the world. You're probably going to need, a ground floor credit score of around a 660. You're obviously going to want to have pretty much no negative marks on your credit report and a reasonable income. Honestly, a working class income seems to work fine based on the data points to get in. You want to apply for a card that has a lower barrier to entry. Charge cards have historically, by data points, been easier to get in with. That having been said, they have to be paid off every single month unless you do a pay over time feature, which has significant interest costs. So you're going to want to go in for one of their no annual fee 0% interest cards if you're not already with American Express to get started. If you're in with them, great, that's wonderful, because you've already kicked the door down with them. And from here, scaling up is easy, because everybody who's with American Express knows once you are in with them and maintain a healthy relationship, they rarely hard pull you for many other products. There's an end game to this, so I want you to keep focused. Once you get in, you use one of those business credit cards or personal credit cards, ideally a business credit card, to procure your machines. And again, this needs to be a 0% offer for as long as realistically possible, so you have time to make very thin minimal payments while you're building up your cash flow and getting ramped up. You want to give yourself some grace. It's not a guarantee the products that you use are going to fly off of the shelf when you put it into these new locations. You have to fill out your base. And so you want to give yourself time through one of these 0% offers. Now, once you get in, you want to establish a business entity with American Express as soon as possible. You want to establish one, period, for your vending machine business in most cases, to give yourself the best tax benefits and then access to capital, as well as some potential anonymity and limited liability. So you want to get yourself a business entity going. That's a good recommendation. And the reason you want to do that is because what you really want to accomplish is getting to American Express's business line of credit. This is honestly where you're headed with this strategy. Once you're in their ecosystem, you want that business entity established as soon as possible, because that business entity needs to be in existence and ideally with American Express at least a year before they'll consider you for their business line of credit. You're also going to obviously need to be 18 or older. Anybody with about 10% or more ownership in the business is going to need to be participant in this process and probably going to need to personally guarantee. You're going to need at least $3,000 a month in revenue to qualify for this line of credit as well. This is another reason why you want to get your business entity started as soon as possible, because that's the ground floor and cash flow you can have to qualify. The ground floor of time in business is 1 year. So if you get in with the credit cards with American Express, just to get the business off the ground, you get a couple machines, get a few machines using their credit cards, get the business entity established as soon as possible. Don't wait, so you can get that year under your belt. You're gonna hopefully use a combination of the machine's cash flow to get to that $3,000 or more mark. You can expect, if you get a $3,000 line of credit from American Express, or you get $3,000 in cash flow using it towards your line of credit qualifications, they're probably going to give you somewhere around a third of that in a line of credit. So $36,000 a year is $3,000 a month. You might get a little over $10,000 if everything else is good on your financials in that line of credit to get started, which honestly for this vending machine business is usually going to be enough to get you a vending machine a year, if you want to say that, until you expand and grow your cash flow and can get a bigger and bigger line of credit. The reason why I'm promoting the idea of this line of credit is because with this business model, you're gonna need the ability to pay as little as possible for the debt used to procure the machines in order to make sure that the machines are in place and cash flowing consistently. The credit card is at 0% interest. We'll give you that for 6, 12, 18 months, depending on the card. The business line of credit is gonna allow you to have that same low monthly payment for years. And this is what you need in order to let that cash flow kick in and build up to pay down on that line of credit and clean it up and wipe down that debt so you can go buy more machines with that line of credit. The more machines you buy, the more cash flow you get. The more cash flow you have, the older the business is, the more you can increase that line of credit and get access to more capital, and you keep recycling that. If you can follow the math on this and follow the timeline, you can literally scale this business up as fast as the cash flow comes in. If the average vending machine cash flow is between $200 and $300, then you may need quite a few of them in order to get to that $3,000 mark. But if you, again, can play the credit card game long enough and use the capital coming in, don't use it for your take it in personally, use it to reinvest back in your business, pay those credit cards down, and get more machines. And the more machines you get, this will work you into your line of credit. Once you have that line of credit, the limit on that situation can go deep. We're talking 6 figures, maybe even beyond, at which point in time, your cash flow, hopefully, and the scale of your business is flooding in at American Express and kicking the door down for you to get massive limits with them, not only through their credit cards, but increasing your line of credit and continuing to grow your business while staying within your draw period on the line of credit, which again, the minimum payments are something like, 1% of the balance or 2% of the balance, very similar to a credit card with the minimum payments required on that line of credit, which is the gift of that line of credit, because it gives you that revolving benefit of the credit card, gives you cash access like a loan, and a minimum payment that is not, overwhelming while you're trying to get your machines up and ramped up and off the ground. So again, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to take your credit to buy cash flow. If you don't have any capital, or you just don't want to use your capital to get into a business model like this, this is the type of strategy you put in place, because many of these franchises around vending machines do not finance. Same thing a lot of times when you buy them individually from, these manufacturers and stuff like that, autonomously, independently, they're not likely going to finance. So you need to go in with your own capital. Another reason I pick American Express for this strategy is because you don't really need you don't have to have a banking relationship with them. They're prepared to offer this line of credit to you wherever your business bank account is set up. Now, obviously, if it's within American Express, that makes sense, and it's probably going to be a much simpler process. But if you have an existing business already that you're going to use to get access to this line of credit, then that's great, because if your ramp up period is even shorter, and you have a business that's already a year in business that may have $3,000 a month coming in from some other activity, and you get the line of credit, you can use that cash for whatever. And now you see where this can go. You can expand out. You do this with other institutions, they're likely going to have a more strenuous process to get approved, depending on who you're banking with. American Express is just one of those easy to scale, low to no barrier of entry. Once you're in with them, get in. Like I said, you don't get hard pulled for much at all once you're in, especially their credit cards and charge cards. They're not likely to pull your credit again once you're in. They'll probably pull it again for that line of credit, but you'll know you're approved first. You'll have a pre-approval in advance and know what you're approved for before you get a hard inquiry on that line of credit application. Use your credit strategically. That's the whole point of this content. It's the whole point you're tuning in to content like this, is to find out how to leverage your credit into these types of opportunities. And we're going to continue to cover them in depth on this channel. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know if you have any experience when it comes to the vending machine business already. I also want you to comment down below and let me know if you're in with American Express already, or if you plan to get in with American Express and exercise the strategy for a business like vending or any other cash flowing business that you may be interested in. And I also want you to comment down below and let me know other institutions that you want this kind of content on. Other than that, to all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want y'all to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.
This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel dedicated to helping you increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, the proper use of life insurance, and the ownership of real estate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you customize your blueprint for prosperity.